We're going to unpack a simple but important question. Does cranking up the caffeine content of your pre-workout automatically lead to a better workout? The supplement market is crowded with high-stim powders that tout extreme energy as a selling point, but there's a growing movement towards smarter formulations that balance caffeine with pump, endurance, and focus ingredients. In this discussion, I'll outline how caffeine works, what the science says about dosing, and why combining moderate doses with supportive compounds might deliver steadier results. By comparing the pros and cons of high-stim versus smart-stim philosophies, you'll be able to decide which approach suits your goals, tolerance, and lifestyle. To set the stage, let's look at how the high-stim trend took off. Over the past few years, manufacturers have been racing to outdo each other with high-stim formulas containing 350 to 400 milligrams of caffeine per scoop. Catchy names like Extreme Energy or Ultra Kick promise an intense rush. Many lifters gravitate to these products when they're undersleeping, overtraining, or simply chasing that euphoric pre-workout buzz. The implicit message is that more stimulation equals better results. But does it? Marketing plays on our more is better mindset without discussing tolerance, side effects, or diminishing returns. As we move forward, keep in mind that energy is only one piece of the performance puzzle. To understand whether high doses make sense, we need to review what caffeine actually does at a physiological level. Caffeine works on several fronts. By blocking adenosine receptors in the brain, it reduces perceived fatigue and allows you to stay mentally alert. It simultaneously increases dopamine and norepinephrine, boosting mood and motivation. On the muscular side, caffeine mobilizes calcium within muscle cells, which can enhance contraction strength and promotes fatty acid release, encouraging your body to burn fat for fuel. These mechanisms explain why caffeine can sharpen your mental drive and provide a small bump in physical capacity. However, they also reveal that there's a limit to how much stimulation your body can use effectively. To see how these processes translate into actual performance, let's review the exercise literature. When researchers look at caffeine and performance, they find modest but consistent benefits. Endurance athletes often see time trial improvements of roughly 2 to 3% after ingesting caffeine. Strength tests show increased mean power output and higher 1-rep maxes in many studies. Reaction time and vigilance, important for both athletes and lifters, also improve, helping you make quicker decisions and maintain focus. Importantly, these benefits appear in moderate doses. Individuals with certain genetic variants or higher habitual intake may experience less of a boost. Sleep quality and timing also influence outcomes. Insufficient rest can blunt caffeine's effects. Understanding the dose-response relationship is key, which brings us to evidence-based dosing guidelines. Rather than relying on arbitrary scoop sizes, it's more useful to dose caffeine relative to your body weight. Studies show that 3 to 6 milligrams per kilogram deliver the most reliable improvements in endurance and strength. Doses starting at about 2 milligrams per kilogram can still be effective for sensitive individuals, while intakes above 9 milligrams per kilogram rarely offer additional performance, but do increase the risk of jitters, elevated heart rate, and upset stomach. For a 75 kilogram lifter, that means around 150 milligrams for a minimal dose and 225 to 450 milligrams for a moderate ergogenic range. Knowing your target in milligrams per kilogram helps you personalize rather than chase the highest number on a label. With that in mind, let's examine what a typical 200 milligram dose represents. A 200 milligram caffeine dose is often advertised as moderate. For a 75 kilogram individual, that translates to roughly 2.7 milligrams per kilogram, enough to provide an ergogenic effect while staying on the lower end of the effective range. It's equivalent to 2 shots of espresso or a typical strong energy drink. Importantly, it leaves you room to consume another cup of coffee later in the day while remaining within the widely recommended 400 milligram daily limit for healthy adults. For many lifters, this level of caffeine delivers a noticeable boost without overwhelming the nervous system or compromising sleep. To contrast, let's consider what doubling that dose looks like. Taking in 400 milligrams of caffeine at once is a substantial hit. For our 75 kilogram lifter, that's about 5.3 milligrams per kilogram, near the high end of the effective range. It also approaches the commonly cited daily maximum of 400 milligrams. Ingesting this amount in a single scoop means you've effectively used up your caffeine budget for the day. Any additional coffee or tea could nudge you into a territory associated with side effects like palpitations or sleep disruption. While you might feel an intense buzz, research suggests you'll gain little additional performance compared with a moderate dose. It's easy to see why high-stim formulas are appealing though, so let's explore what draws people to them. High-stim pre-workouts deliver an unmistakable rush. Within minutes, you feel your heart rate climb and a wave of euphoria wash over you, fueling aggression and drive. Marketing taps into that more is better mindset with phrases like max dose and extreme energy. For lifters who equate feeling amped with training hard, it's a seductive experience. It also serves as a temporary crutch when you're sleep deprived or overtraining, masking underlying fatigue. The psychological reward, the sense of doing something powerful, can be strong, even if the actual performance benefits don't scale with dose. To understand why more isn't always better, we need to examine the concept of diminishing returns. There is a clear ceiling to what stimulants can offer. Research shows that beyond the 3 to 6 milligrams per kilogram range, improvements in strength, power, and endurance flatten out. In other words, doubling your caffeine doesn't double your performance. On the flip side, side effects continue to rise with each additional milligram. Your receptors become saturated, and rather than energized, you may end up feeling jittery or nauseous. This disconnect, flatlining benefits versus escalating adverse reactions, means we need to think critically about dosing. These diminishing returns segue naturally into a discussion of the specific side effects associated with very high caffeine intakes. Pushing caffeine into the upper limits doesn't just waste money, it can also jeopardize health. Large doses can significantly raise blood pressure and heart rate, and in susceptible individuals may trigger arrhythmias. Many users report feeling edgy, anxious, or shaky, and digestive issues like nausea and diarrhea become more common. Headaches and lightheadedness can follow as blood vessels constrict or dilate unpredictably. Some studies have even documented reduced blood flow to the heart muscle during exercise, increasing ischemia risk. Isolated reports link energy drink overuse to seizures and severe cardiac events. The higher the dose, the more pronounced and unpredictable these side effects become. Next, let's talk about the post-workout crash that often follows a high-stim session. An intense pre-workout high often comes with a low. After your session, neurotransmitter levels and glycogen stores are depleted, leading to a rapid decline in arousal. This post-workout crash can leave you feeling lethargic, irritable, and ravenous. Caffeine's half-life ranges from 2 to 12 hours, so if you train in the late afternoon or evening, a large dose may still be circulating at bedtime, making it difficult to fall asleep. Poor sleep compromises recovery and can set you up for a vicious cycle of greater fatigue and a craving for more stimulants. To break this loop, you need to understand how chronic high doses affect your body at the genetic and cellular levels, which brings us to tolerance. Your body adapts to chronic stimulation. With daily high caffeine consumption, adenosine receptors multiply and gene expression patterns change to mitigate caffeine's effects. Studies show that performance benefits are highest on the first day of use and decline steadily over 3 weeks of continuous dosing. As tolerance builds, you might feel the need to increase your intake just to achieve the same buzz, which in turn intensifies side effects. This escalating cycle doesn't enhance performance, it merely restores your new baseline. To combat tolerance, many athletes periodically reduce their caffeine intake or switch to stim-free formulas. This reset allows receptors to downregulate and restores your responsiveness. In the search for balance, some turn to a Smart-Stim philosophy, which we'll explore next. Smart-Stim pre-workouts acknowledge that more isn't always better. They typically contain a moderate caffeine dose around 200 to 250 milligrams, paired with clinically dosed nitric oxide boosters like citrulline, endurance aids such as beta-alanine and creatine, and sometimes nootropics. The idea is to deliver steady energy and sharpen focus while boosting blood flow and buffering fatigue. These formulas aim to be sustainable, something you can take on most training days without building excessive tolerance or disrupting sleep. By focusing on evidence-based ingredients and balanced dosing, Smart-Stim products offer a middle ground between high-stim extremes and stim-free alternatives. With that philosophy in mind, let's look at the nootropics that often accompany moderate caffeine doses. Nootropics are added to some pre-workouts to enhance mental clarity without increasing stimulation. Alpha-GPC is a choline donor that helps produce acetylcholine, a neurotransmitter involved in muscle contraction and memory. A small study demonstrated that 600 milligrams improved lower body force over 6 days. Tyrosine is a precursor to dopamine and noradrenaline, and may support focus under stress, but the doses used in exercise studies are high, around 150 milligrams per kilogram, and results are inconsistent. Many products include only a few hundred milligrams, which is unlikely to produce a measurable effect. When assessing a formula, look for ingredients dosed at the levels used in research. Next, I'll outline how to combine moderate caffeine with other performance enhancers for a balanced formulation. A well-rounded pre-workout doesn't rely on one ingredient. A balanced strategy starts with 200 to 250 milligrams of caffeine, which delivers a reliable ergogenic effect without pushing you to the edge. To enhance pump, include 6 to 8 grams of citrulline. For endurance, add 3 to 4 grams of beta-alanine. Daily creatine at 3 to 5 grams maintains high-intensity power, while betaine may support hydration and cellular resilience. If you want cognitive support, ensure nootropics like alpha-GPC are dosed at around 600 milligrams. This combination provides steady energy, improved blood flow, and longer-lasting work capacity without overwhelming your central nervous system. But how do these theories play out in the real world? Let's look at user feedback. Anecdotally, High-Stim users often describe a powerful surge of motivation and focus followed by jitteriness and a pronounced crash. They may feel unstoppable during the first half of a workout but struggle to finish strong. Those who opt for moderate stimulant doses combined with pump and endurance ingredients report smoother energy, better concentration, and no mid-workout slump. Many athletes find success by rotating doses, using a high-stim product on particularly demanding days and a Smart-Stim or stim-free option when training is less intense. The common thread is that feel is not always correlated with performance. A calmer, more sustained energy can lead to better execution. To emphasize that point, we need to distinguish between perception and reality. It's easy to confuse feeling amped with being stronger or faster. High-stim products heighten arousal, which can make you think you're performing better than you are. However, studies comparing moderate and high caffeine doses generally find minimal differences in actual output once you're within the effective range. In other words, the extra buzz doesn't translate to significantly more reps or greater weight. To truly gauge progress, you need to track objective metrics: how many repetitions you completed, the total volume lifted, your running time, rather than relying on sensations alone. Understanding this distinction helps you choose products based on efficacy rather than excitement. That said, there are situations where high-stim might still make sense, which we'll cover next. High-stim formulas aren't inherently bad. They simply serve a specific niche. Lifters who consume a lot of caffeine regularly may find that moderate doses barely register, so a higher dose provides the jolt they need. Early morning lifters or those training fasted may appreciate the strong wake-up and mood elevation that accompanies a bigger hit of caffeine. Similarly, when you're preparing for a competition or attempting a personal record, a heightened sense of arousal can help you push through nerves and perform under pressure. If you choose this route, timing and cycling become crucial to minimize tolerance and protect your health. For many others, moderate caffeine is a smarter choice, as we'll discuss now. Moderate caffeine pre-workouts are ideal for people who experience jitters, anxiety, or heart palpitations from high doses. If you train in the late afternoon or evening, a 200 mg dose provides energy without keeping you awake all night. Athletes focused on sustainable progress rather than a one-off adrenaline rush often prefer formulas that combine moderate stimulation with nitric oxide boosters, beta-alanine, and creatine. These products deliver a steady state of alertness and improve blood flow and endurance, helping you get more quality work done without sacrificing recovery. Ultimately, aligning your intake with your sensitivity and schedule is key. Sustainability is the next piece of the puzzle. Long-term success isn't about chasing the highest dose of caffeine. It's about building habits that support progress. Using high doses repeatedly accelerates tolerance and receptor adaptation, making stimulants less effective over time. You can preserve sensitivity by cycling between high-stim, moderate, and stim-free formulas or taking periodic breaks from caffeine altogether. But remember, no supplement can replace the basics: progressive overload, adequate sleep, proper nutrition, and hydration. These fundamentals drive sustainable gains, whereas escalating stimulant use can mask poor recovery and eventually lead to burnout. Having discussed sustainability, let's wrap up with the key takeaways from this comparison. To bring everything together, caffeine is a powerful ergogenic aid when used intelligently. Moderate doses of 3 to 6 milligrams per kilogram improve endurance, strength, and focus. For many lifters, around 200 milligrams, about 2.7 milligrams per kilogram, delivers benefits while leaving room for another cup of coffee later. Jumping to 400 milligrams, around 5.3 milligrams per kilogram, pushes you towards the upper limit of safety and offers diminishing returns. High-stim formulas may feel more intense but carry greater risk of jitters, crashes, and tolerance. Smart-Stim strategies combine moderate caffeine with citrulline, beta-alanine, creatine, betaine, and clinically dosed nootropics for smoother, more sustainable performance. Ultimately, choose your pre-workout based on your goals, tolerance, and health, and let science guide your decisions.